the European Commission has actually been one of the main actors promoting open data and at least sharing and openly making available public sector information thanks to 2 directives. So the first directive on the reuse of public sector information in 2003, which was also revised in 2013. And this actually provided the legal framework in Europe for opening up a lot of public sector information, which is also known as open government data. But it's not only that, I would say, it's also a lot of non-legislative measures in terms of offering funding, offering opportunities for best practices to be collected. So it's a set of legislative measures, but a lot of accompanying non-legislative measures that the European Commission has been conducting over quite some time. I would say more recently with the launch of the European Data Portal in 2015, this has been one of the core service platforms, I would say, in making public sector information available. But there has also been a lot in the field of geospatial information with, for instance, the Inspire Directive. So it's been an ongoing field of activity since basically the past 15 years now, where the Commission has been accompanying member states as they publish open data. Yes, a few challenges. I would say, interestingly enough, the technology is not really part of the problem. To start off with the technology, where it has started to be a challenge working with technology is when you really have very high volumes of data, because we have 760,000 metadata records, but multiply that by the fact that we have those in 24 different languages. So you can start having fun playing around with, how many data sets do we have, where the metadata from Spain is translated into 23 other languages, so on and so forth. So at that moment, we started realizing that if we really wanted to offer the possibility for linked open data and for complex search functions, we needed to evolve our architecture, and that's going to be one of the main next steps, I would say, of the European Data Portal in the upcoming years. Another challenge has been working with member states, where there was a lot of wait and see to say, it's like in all relationships, so you can either fall in love at first sight, or you're at some point we say, okay, well, what is this new relationship that I'm forced into? And here it took quite some time where the member states needed to observe us work and to understand the benefits we had. And over the past 2 years, I think it's fair to say that we've succeeded in building a very strong relationship with almost all the EU member states. And more importantly, a lot of the countries on the borders of Europe actually want to start working with the European Data Portal as well. So it was initially not necessarily a challenge, but a wait and see in how do we build the trust. And trust building takes a lot of time. And with this relationship with member states, we've also noticed that there are many regions or some municipalities that were more eager in working with us directly. But we also have to keep the peace with the national level. So it was a bit of a challenging position sometimes to be contacted, I would say, for instance, in Italy by some regions, or then in Germany by some regions, and having to make sure that we were coordinating with the national level, because here at this stage, well, there are some national guidelines in place. And even if at the European level we can cooperate and we can support all these regions, we have to make sure that it's done by consulting and informing and with the agreement of the national level. And here, for instance, during the conference today, there are many different regions represented who are wanting to do more with open data and who are very eager to have all the lessons learned from the Aporta initiative, but also all the implementation. So again here, not so much of a challenge. I would say here more of a future challenge to say, how do we continue working together with open data in a structured way, bringing all municipalities, all regions on board, because the users want the data from where they're based. They're not necessarily interested only in the data of the national level, even though that data is very important. And a final challenge, I would say, is in raising awareness, because we do so much, and we do it at the European level. So the European level is already difficult to communicate about, and it's something that people don't necessarily identify to either, because they say, it's Europe, it's far away. They all have a very bad example of a bad directive or a regulation that was not explained in the best way. And what we have to do is we basically need to build that connection and try to raise awareness all the way down to the users and the citizens, coming all the way down from the European level, And it needs to be bottom-up as well, because we need that feedback from the users to help in our journey with the member states. So it's a collection of challenges, but all these challenges are also great opportunities.